I'm Professor John Sheeman, Assistant Professor of Political Science on the Madison campus, and I'd like to welcome you all this evening to our UN Pathways Lecture, organized jointly by the Office of Global Learning, the Ambassadors Club at the UN, and the Provost's office here at the College at Florham. And for their sponsorship, I'd like to thank Elise Salem of the Office of Global Learning, Associate Provost, and Provost Ken Green, who maybe is not here, and so he's sick. So we'll thank Marilyn Ryan instead for helping put this together. I'd also like to thank Dr. Joanne Murphy, Madhu Rao, and Katie Kleinschuster for all their hard work putting the evening together. Before we begin tonight's lecture, I'd like to let you know about 3 exciting upcoming events. The first is tomorrow, for those of you who have open schedules and short notice is not a problem. We're having a UN video conference at 10 o'clock in the ITV room at Dreyfus on this campus on global health problems. Then on Wednesday, April 9th, the ambassador from Switzerland to the UN will speak on Switzerland and Europe and the world at the Metro campus. Everybody is invited to that. And then on Wednesday, April 23rd, 2008, in the afternoon into the evening, there will be a small symposium on the war on terrorism and the fate of human rights in the United States, also on the Metro campus. So I invite you all to attend. As you know, we're fortunate to have the Myanmar's ambassador to the UN speak to us tonight about the past, present, and future of his country. And many of us are particularly keen to hear what the ambassador has to say as we followed events in Myanmar very closely last August and semester. And in fact, indeed, some of us had just begun a course comparing transitions to democracy from authoritarianism around the world, a comparative course, just as the peaceful protests against Myanmar's military dictatorship broke out. And we decided in a very impromptu manner that we would enliven what might have been a somewhat dry course and make what was happening in Myanmar a real-life, real-time case study. And so on Monday, September 24th, following weeks of protests, we diagrammed, I still remember very clearly, we diagrammed the choice facing the regime on the chalkboard, a choice between opening dialogue and negotiation with the opposition, those protesting, and repression. When we returned to class later that same week, Thursday, September 27th, we met with dismay, realizing the regime had chosen repression on the previous day when it opened fire on peacefully demonstrating monks in the center of Rangoon. And so we have 3 questions for the ambassador corresponding to the tripartite title of his talk. First, as concerns the past, what is the regime's moral justification, not pragmatic justification, but moral justification for shooting down in cold blood peaceful protesters, not hooligans, not rioters, but peaceful monks, students, and other citizens? Second, as concerns the present, why does the Myanmar military junta refuse real dialogue with Aung San Suu Kyi, the National League of Democracy, and other advocates for peaceful reform? And I don't mean Potemkin closed-door one-on-one meetings about the constitutional sham roadmap to constitutional reform and the referendum while she remains under house arrest, but real and open dialogue and negotiations like those that characterized the peaceful transitions in Eastern Europe, in Latin America, and in South Africa. And third and finally, as concerns the future, what does the military junta plan to do weeks or months down the road when, again, the day comes that the military dictatorship is faced with peaceful demonstrations against its rule? Will it again choose to shoot protesters in cold blood, or will it choose the courageous path of dialogue, negotiation, and compromise that have led to peaceful resolutions of conflict around the globe, from Albania to Zambia? We look forward to the ambassador's discussion of all of these points. I will invite the ambassador and Ambassador Kamal to come up and speak. Let me first say, for those few of you who don't know Ambassador Kamal, I suspect that's very few because Ambassador Kamal is a regular here. He's a professional diplomat in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Pakistan for close to 40 years. He's held multiple diplomatic postings around the world and many elective posts, including the Vice President of the General Assembly itself. He's currently President of the UN Ambassadors Club, which helps organize these lectures. as well as the author of several publications on disarmament, multilateralism, and global economic issues. In addition, he's also an honorary visiting professor at 6 universities, to our great good fortune, one of which includes our very own FDU. So please join me in welcoming both Ambassador Kamal and Ambassador Thuy, and Ambassador Kamal will introduce the ambassador from Myanmar.
Ambassador Thuy, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to Fairleigh Dickinson University, along with Madame May Yintun. Welcome to this university. As you know, and as you will have noticed from the introduction, there is deep interest in Myanmar. And so please do not be carried away by the current focus having shifted to Tibet. We are interested in you, and I am particularly delighted to see that you are wearing your bulletproof vest, because I intend to ask you a number of questions myself. But as a way of introduction to the rest of the audience, Ambassador Thuy is a career diplomat. He's done 40 years in his diplomatic service. He has been posted to important countries like Japan, Israel, Thailand, Malaysia, and Germany. But most of all, this is an ambassador who is respected at the United Nations. Now, considering that he comes from an empire of evil in Myanmar, it's not easy to be a respected ambassador, but he is. That will not stop me from asking him some rather pointed questions myself. But to start with, most of us, Ambassador Thuy, do not know where Myanmar is. We don't know how big it is. We don't know how many people it has. What is the structure? Tell us something. What is the size of the population, to begin with, of Myanmar?
Thank you very much, Ambassador Kamal, President Adams, and Professor. We thank you very much for this opportunity to say something about my country. From the very beginning, Ambassador Kamal, I have to agree with you on some, but disagree with you on 2 points. Mm-hmm. First and foremost, my country is not an evil empire. Secondly, I'm not that well respected in the United Nations. Ambassador, Myanmar is a country in Southeast Asia. I think many of you who followed the events in Myanmar, particularly because the professor has mentioned that they've been following the events in Myanmar very closely. I think most of you know, but for those of you who are not familiar with my country, it is a country in Southeast Asia. It's between China and India. We are neighbored by 5 countries: Bangladesh, India, China, Laos, and Thailand. We have a population of some 54 million people. And Ambassador, I am thankful to you that you do not refer to my country as Burma, as some do, but as Myanmar.
But tell me, why is it? Everybody knew you as Burma, and now you insist on being Myanmar, and I was just being polite. But you might like to tell us, are you Burma or are you Myanmar? And if you are Myanmar, why are you Myanmar?
Yes, Ambassador, that is a good question. We've been, known as Myanmar for over 1,000 years. We have always been known as Myanmar. And again, I like to say, tell you that Myanmar is, made up of 8 major ethnic national races that arrived to the area some 2,000 years ago. Since then, we have always called ourselves Myanmar. And, throughout history, even when the British call us Burma, we have always called ourselves Myanmar. And the earliest, the written, inscription, because